Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to share with all of you today my September bullet journal setup. This theme turned out so beautiful. I went with this kind of like whimsical fantasy, sort of yellow and brown earth tone color scheme. If you've noticed, this theme is actually inspired directly by the shirt that I'm wearing today. This is a shirt from the brand Wilfred. I actually thrifted it, so I got this shirt months ago for like $8 at a thrift store. I just loved the pattern so much, and from the minute I bought it I felt inspired that I wanted to create a bullet journal theme inspired by this shirt. So I'm so excited that I finally did it. Full credit to the makers and designers of this shirt. I pulled elements from this shirt throughout the theme, so I'm really excited to show you how I've done it. This month the drawing and the coloring took a long time. As you can see, it's a really intricate shirt, really intricate pattern, so I didn't get a chance to color all the pages. So in this video I will be showing you the drawings that I do to set up all the weekly spreads, and I will show you the final coloring in of the front page like we saw here. I will definitely be sharing the final products and the colored in weekly spreads, so be sure to stay tuned for that. For now, let's get right to it. I'm starting with the cover page. This took me a long time to set up. As you can see, I've already drawn everything in pencil, and it was a lot more intricate than I'd kind of expected. I did kind of struggle with some of the elements, but once I was happy with how it was looking in pencil, then I'm going in now with my black fine liner. This fine liner I've like really used to death. I'm not sure, like at the end of this month's setup, this marker is pretty much dead, but it's strange because there's still a lot of ink, but it seems to me like the tip is kind of receding, so not really sure what to make of that. But anyways, I'm going in and outlining. There's so many different elements here. There's like the flowers, the leaves, and I love how these leaves are kind of like oversized and giant. I think it gives it a sort of like really whimsical, kind of like unnatural feel. I struggled the most drawing these people. I never draw people or human forms, and I found it really difficult, and I struggled a lot to get the proportions correct. Even here with the black fine liner, although I already drew it in pencil, I'm like really hesitant with my fine liner, so I'm just trying to be a bit careful. I found the elements like the clothing and the leaves, that was much easier for me to draw. In terms of the composition of this page, I took different elements from different parts of the shirt, and I wanted this page to be like quite full and quite busy. Past months' themes that I've done, I feel like my cover page has been more on like the simple or minimalist side, so I wanted to do like quite a lot on this page. I wanted to do quite a lot throughout the whole theme, but after I set up this page I realized like there's no way I would have time to do this on every page. Like this page took me a couple hours to like draw it on pencil, trace it, color it. It took a long time, but I think it did end up being my favorite page of all of them. As you can see, I've not drawn the faces yet. I was really nervous about drawing those actually. Like the hair and the body was already difficult for me, but I find the face really difficult, and I did practice this in another notebook like before starting to sketch out the monthly theme in my actual bullet journal, and yeah, the first iterations were really bad, so I was feeling pretty nervous for the faces, but I think these ones turned out okay on the cover page. I decided to do a monthly calendar spread. If you guys watch my previous videos, you know that I rarely do this actually because I don't find that I use it super often, but because I haven't done one in a while, I was kind of feeling like I wanted to do one for September, so I've just laid out the weeks and like the headers for the days of the week and writing in all the days here, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of artwork around it. I have a lot going on in September, including my birthday, so I wanted to add this like special box for events that I have going on, and then yeah, my monthly goals can go there as well. For this monthly setup, I have this like calligraphy font that I've used for the title page and the header here, but I'm also using this kind of like typewriter printing font as like a secondary font, so you're going to see me using these two fonts throughout the whole setup. And now to the right of the calendar, I'm adding a little bit of artwork. I added this cloud. Actually, that's not on the shirt, but I kind of like the kind of whimsy of the cloud. I think it suits the theme really well. So I wanted to add that, and then I'm adding this figure or this lady in the corner as well. The next page is the habit and mood tracker page. So I'm going to be putting them all on one page because the first week of September only has 2 days. So I'm going to use that, the page adjacent to this, just for those 2 days. So I'm doing 6 habits for this month and just doing this like simple calendar layout. I'm writing all the numbers, which I really like the look of, but it is very tiring and makes my hand tired. But anyways, I'm writing out all the numbers. And then I originally had a certain idea for the mood tracker. It was kind of like a circular shape, but I just hated it and it looked really horrible. So you can see that I've actually taped paper over it to kind of redo this one. I didn't really like the circle idea, so instead of that, I'm drawing 30 little doodles that I've taken from the main pattern of the shirt. Like there's the roses and the leaves and the lily pads. I drew 30 of them and I'm numbering them all, and I'll be coloring these in throughout the month for my mood tracker. Now onto the weekly spreads. I'm writing the layout of the month in the corner as I always do. I find this so helpful for me to keep track of where I am in the month. And then because the first week is only 2 days, I'm just using this layout with like 2 kind of boxes on the bottom. And I didn't want to use solid lines. I decided to use these kind of like randomly dashed lines, just to look a little bit more soft. I think it matches the whimsical theme a little bit better. I'm using that typewriter font that I used before. And now going in and drawing these figures and drawings on the top. I think I was getting a little bit better with drawing the faces at this point. I also drew them all from the same angle, exactly as shown on the shirt. I think that helped me to have like an example to copy instead of having to kind of create the postures and the sort of perspectives myself. I think I would have struggled a lot with that. I already found this really challenging, so I hope you guys like the drawings that I've done. And I think they got better and better throughout the monthly theme. For the next weekly spread, this is the first full week of September, I'm doing this horizontal layout. So I'm drawing 8 lines across the page, and you saw me using my grid spacer there. If you wanted to see how I made that, check out my 2023 bullet journal setup video where I show you how I made that. But anyways, I'm just writing in the days in each of those, and then the 8th one is going to be a to-do list. And then I'm adding some doodles on the side of each of these spreads. This is a really good spread for more vertical doodles, so I'm going with the leaves because yeah, they were quite tall. And then I'm adding the lady standing behind it who's also quite tall, and that fit really well in this space that I had. I wanted to add a little bit more details to her dress in the shirt. It kind of didn't really show the details at the bottom of the dress, so I'm adding these like ruffles and kind of curvature to soften the end of the dress. I think it looks really pretty. And then again, I'm drawing the same angle and the same expression on the face because yeah, I was already struggling enough with that. I added a few roses and kind of like more details to her dress because I think it was really beautiful. The next weekly spread is one of my favorites now, kind of a new favorite, but it's these 7 boxes. So I put 3 on the left page and 4 on the right, and then as usual I have the calendar layout in the top left. I really like this spread because it makes so much space. You have a ton of space to be writing your daily plans, etc. But you can also add a lot of artwork kind of around the edges, and it looks like a really full and quite simple page. So I've colored in the top bar in this like sand color, and then I'm using the calligraphy font for this week to write the days of the week. And you can see I've already drawn in pencil the kind of drawings and doodles that I want to add to this page. So after I've written in all the weeks, I'm going in with my fine liner now to trace those doodles, and I've just taken various different elements from the shirt all around the page. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I won't be coloring in all the weekly spreads in this video. I actually just didn't have time. The drawings were already pretty time consuming and I just didn't have time to color everything in time for putting up my monthly setup video. But I did color in the cover page, so I will be sharing at the end of this video how I'm coloring that so you guys can see the kind of color scheme I'm going for. But yeah, for the weekly spreads, so far I've just left them as black and white drawings, and I will be coloring them in throughout the month, and I definitely will be sharing that, so stay tuned. I'm quite pleased with how all the drawings turned out on this page, and this is one of the reasons why I really like this spread, because I think you can add these like small doodles or drawings that fit your theme kind of like surrounding the boxes, and I think it just looks really pretty and is quite simple as well, and also still gives you a lot of room to write and plan out your week. So I'm just adding a bit more flowers here and adding in the final details for this spread. The next weekly spread is going to be a horizontal layout, so I'm starting by writing the days of the week in the typewriter font that I'm using. I've already kind of mapped it out using my grid spacer, so I have 3 days on the left and 4 on the right, and I'll be writing all the days across the page like this. And then after that, I'm going to be taking my colored brush pen and writing the numbers around it. This is one of my favorite weekly layouts because I just think it looks so cool and so beautiful, but actually is a lot simpler than it looks. So I'm writing all the numbers around the words, and then I'll be adding some doodles and drawings on the top part of this page, and then I can write my weekly and daily plans below the numbers. I did find it became kind of a struggle at this point in the monthly setup to like think of kind of original or unique ideas. Like I'm repeating a lot of the same drawings and getting a lot of inspiration from the shirt directly, but I did want to make each page a little bit different and also add some of my own creativity, not just like copying directly from my source of inspiration. So I did find it a little bit challenging, but I think I managed to make each page a little bit unique by just like changing up the weekly layouts first of all, so the drawings were going in different places, but also changing up the composition of the spreads. So a lot of these drawings, even though each element is taken from the shirt, the composition and like how I laid them out, that was my own original ideas, and I tried to vary that on each spread to make each page different, so that I wasn't just repeating the same kind of like pattern in a tile, like a tile pattern throughout the setup. For the last week of September, it's still a full week. September happened to end on a full week, but I decided to do this Dutch door setup. I've never done a Dutch door like this, so I've been kind of wanting to try it, and I think it works well for a full week because it does give you a lot of space. So I've cut kind of like 2/3 of the page on the right, and I'm putting 5 days on the front and then 2 on the back, and then I'm making the last page my notes page. And I think this worked out really well for me for September because otherwise, because the last week is a full week, I would need a full spread and then my notes page would be like just 1 page after that. So I think this worked really well in this case to fit it all in nicely and then start the next month on a fresh page afterwards. So after I've written out all the days across it, I'm adding some drawings now, and the cool thing about the Dutch door spreads is that the drawings you add on the right page will be able to be seen from both like the front and back of the Dutch doors. So unfortunately, as I was filming, I didn't film the bottom of the page very well. I just didn't realize I was so into my drawings that I wasn't properly filming everything for you guys, so sorry about that, but I will do a flip through at the end of this video so you can see the whole setup. But here I'm drawing the same figure again, and then this is on the back side of the Dutch doors, so you would see you would see her face from both sides, but you would only see the rest of the body once you flip the Dutch door. I'm adding the same details to her dress like I've added before, a lot of repeat at this point. One element I wish I had added more, this is something that wasn't on the shirt but I just added because I thought it fit well, was this kind of like old architectural window, and I put it on the cover page and then kind of forgot about it, but I wish I had added it more throughout the spread. I think it could have been a really good element to use like for the daily, like for different boxes for the weekly spreads, but yeah, unfortunately I kind of forgot about its existence until the last spread. Now I'm finally coming back to the cover page to add a bit of color. As I mentioned, I did color the rest of the setup later, but not in time to show it or to film it for you guys, so I will show you the flip through after this of the whole spread, and then I definitely will be sharing the full colored version later on, so stay tuned for that. But for now I'm adding color to the cover page. I didn't quite have the right colors like to match the shirt exactly, and at first this kind of stressed me out, like because I really liked the color palette of the shirt. But then I decided like I'm just going to use the supplies that I have because I already have a ridiculous amount of stationery and markers, and I decided to just use what I have, and my color scheme was a little bit different than the shirt, but I think it still turned out really nice. I didn't quite have the same pale yellows that they had, so instead I'm going in a little bit bolder with my yellows, but I found this yellow pen, and I think by doing like a light hatching, I was able to give a sort of pale yellow effect. And this really helped me a lot, I think. I used the stronger yellow, as you see, kind of at the root of the flowers, and even a little bit of brown at the roots. But then I went in with this yellow pen and did some light hatching to kind of give it a gradient and try to like kind of fake blend the colors. And I think this worked out quite well throughout the theme. Here you see I'm using the yellow pen to give like a little bit of faint yellow shading to the bodice of the dress, as well as the hair. For the window, I'm coloring it just in regular brown, but I'm adding a little bit of gray accents afterwards to give it a sort of like older, or like not rotting, but just like an older or withering effect to the wood frame. I'm using this like sand color quite a lot. This is an alcohol marker, so I did struggle a bit with like not letting it bleed through the page. These pages are reasonably thick, but yeah, the darker alcohol markers still don't work, so this light one just barely worked, although it did seep through a tiny bit on the other side. But now I'm just going in, finishing off all the drawings and the flowers kind of in a similar way that I did before. I'm just adding a few finishing touches now. I didn't want to color absolutely everything, but it did still feel a little bit blank to me, so I'm just coloring in some of the negative space and adding a few finishing touches with that yellow pen, just for like a sort of faded yellow effect in the background. Finally, the quote page. I drew this page. It was one of the first ones I drew, and I really loved it a lot. I don't know what it is about this page. I think the composition and like I think I did just the right amount of drawings here, and I loved it so much that I was debating leaving it black and white. But after drawing the cover page in color, I felt like it looked a little bit like unfinished, so I did decide to color this in the end, and I'm glad I did. I think it fits better in color. So I'm just doing similar techniques and coloring it in a very similar way to the cover page. And now for the famous chili garden. They are growing so fast. The habaneros have all come out on multiple plants now. They are just thriving, and I can't believe how fast they've grown. I've actually started to harvest a couple of them. Jalapenos are doing well. Red Thai chilies have come out. The only thing is none of the chilies have changed color that are supposed to be different colors, and I think it's because we've had not very much hot weather, but looking great. And that's all for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed watching me set up this month's bullet journal theme. I'm really looking forward to finishing it off with coloring in all the weekly spreads, and I will definitely be sharing that on my YouTube channel, probably like in some shorts, so stay tuned for that. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe below if you haven't already, and I'll see you next month. Bye friends!